Good morning and welcome to the August 13th, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. You please stand and uncover your head and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to our meeting this morning. We've got a nice crowd out here. That's wonderful to see people involved. I'd like to take a minute and we'll introduce the folks on this end of the room. First, to my far right is Roger Baltz. He's the Chief Administrative Officer for the county. TJ Murphy represents the County Attorney's Office, makes sure that we do things legally. Commissioner Candace Main to my right, immediate right, Commissioner Andy Hunthausen to my immediate left. I'm Tom Rolfe, Chair of the Commission this year. And over here we have Randy Grandy, who keeps track of all of our proceedings and then gets them up on our website so that people can see them as soon as possible. There's a sign-in sheet just on the other side of the bar here. We ask that everyone sign in and leave us some contact information in case we need to get back to you after the meeting. And there's also an agenda there as well. Looks like we have a couple of consent action items this morning. Mr. Baltz, do you want to present those to us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You do have two items. The first is item 2A, Vendor Claims Report for the week ending August 14, 2026, and staff recommends approval of that item. The next item for you is item 2B. It's Resolution 2026-92, declaring county property surplus property, and staff recommends approval of that item as well. Thank you, Commissioners.
Are there any questions from the Commission about the consent action items? Any questions from the Commission? Is there any public comment on the consent action items? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve consent action items 2A and B and authorize Chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the two consent action items 2A and 2B, vendor claims and a resolution declaring surplus property. If you would, is there any discussion from the Commission? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the two consent action items 2A and 2B, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move into the regular action items, and we start off with action item 3A that I would assume that several of you have interest in. This is Resolution 2026-89, levying assessments upon benefited property within the road improvement districts and rural improvement districts in Lewis and Clark County.
Good morning, Chair Rolfe, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Makus, Special Districts Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Today, you will be holding a public hearing to hear comments and objections regarding the adoption of a resolution to levy and assess an annual special assessment upon benefited properties within rural improvement districts and road improvement districts in Lewis and Clark County. This is our annual resolution that includes all RADs throughout Lewis and Clark County with no change to the assessment this year. On the agenda today are 125 RIDs included in this resolution. Lewis and Clark County has a limited number of resources for road improvements and maintenance, and as a result must prioritize efforts on roads that serve as main corridors, emergency routes, and other areas that serve the greatest number of residents. Subdivision roads or roads that serve relatively few people per day compared to main corridors cannot be maintained through the Public Works Department Road Division. However, Lewis and Clark County recognizes the need for county-administered special districts to finance and manage improvement and maintenance of public infrastructure and provides the special districts program and staff. Currently, the county administers approximately 150 rural improvement districts and road improvement districts located primarily in the Helena Valley, but also in the outlying communities of Lincoln and Augusta. Each year, each district is managed independently with individual funds for each. Districts are assessed each year to ensure that maintenance can be provided as detailed in the resolution that established the district. Through this process, staff analyze each RID budget on an annual basis. We review the current assessment and how that assessment revenue compares to projected expenditure for the year. We look at annual items needed and also project cost for chip seal cycles, which occur every 7 to 9 years on hard surface roads. We use that analysis to identify RIDs that need an assessment increase to continue to receive maintenance as intended. We meet with those residents in those districts during evening public meetings to go over budgets and the reasons we recommend an assessment increase. These districts are presented in individual public hearings with individual resolutions to increase those special assessments. This year, 8 districts were recommended for an assessment increase. On the other hand, occasionally through this budgeting process, we also identify RIDs that are projected to grow a cash balance once we account for the anticipated revenue against the projected expenditure. For those districts, we recommend assessment decreases. There were 3 districts with assessment decreases this year. As a reminder, all financial information for all of our RIDs is public information and available upon request at any time. Additionally, any RID without debt can also be dissolved using the same process as RID creation, just in reverse. And staff is available to help assist with the creation of RIDs, but also the dissolution of RIDs as needed. For all of our other RIDs with no change necessary, we address these through one resolution in the same public hearing. And that's what we're here to do today. The RIDs before you have no recommended changes and will be assessed at the same rates they've been assessed since last year. However, by statute, we are required to hold this public hearing and send legal notice to all benefiting property owners and allow time for public comment and objection. Legal notice of the assessments and this public hearing date was sent to all benefiting property owners within each of our rural improvement districts included in the resolution before you. In addition to the notice of public hearing, district background information, maintenance details, and current financial information were summarized in the mailing. Staff contact information was included as well, and staff were able to answer a lot of questions prior to the meeting today. It is our hope that these notices will continue to generate communication between the county and the residents in these districts and establish points of contact for residents in the future. Just a note, around 12,000 individual legal notices were mailed out prior to this public hearing. In addition to the mailed notice, legal notice was also published in the Helena Independent Record on July 11th and July 18th, 2026. 3 letters of protest were received during the time frame that this was open, and additionally 1 letter of support. 1 letter of protest was received for the Raven Road Rural Improvement District for a property owner with 2 properties in the district. This was a protest against the increase of the assessment. However, to be clear, there is no increase proposed this year for that district. With a total of 66 benefiting properties, this protest represents 3% of property owners in the district. 1 letter requesting additional maintenance was received for the Silver Creek Ranchettes RID. The concerns in that letter have been addressed directly, and maintenance in the district has since been completed for this season. This district has 63 properties, and this letter represents 1.6% of the district. 1 letter of protest was received for the Pleasant Valley RID. The property owner lives in the adjacent Grasslands RID, and when the Grassland subdivision was approved, it was required at the time that those properties in the Grassland subdivision be included as benefiting properties in the Pleasant Valley RID because they share a road network. With a total of 298 properties, this represents 0.3% of the district. Additionally, 1 letter of support was received for the York RID. These letters have been included for your review in the packet before you. Again, there are 125 RIDs included in this resolution to levy and assess. Staff recommend approval of the resolution to levy and assess these districts, and I'm happy to take any questions that you have this morning. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions from the commission or comments? Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate the work and the thorough presentation there. I think I know the answers to most of these questions, but I wanted to reiterate, and you actually went over a lot of this in your presentation, but I just want to reiterate. So again, no changes proposed to these RIDs on the list, right?
Chair Ralph, Commissioner Hunthausen, that's correct. There's no change presented in any of these districts this morning.
Right. And you mentioned this, but the money that's collected per RID. So if I'm in an RID and I send in my money, that can't be used in any other RID project, or it only can be used for that RID, my RID, and also only the things that were in that originating resolution can be addressed, right? So, for example, if my RID originally, when we passed it, said this is for snow plowing and grading, and now I would like, I'd like it to be paved or something like that. We can't do that with the money because in the original resolution, it only said it was for snow plowing and grading, right? So I just want to make sure that folks understand that sometimes level of service or the activities that are part of an RID are limited to what has been passed by that original resolution, correct?
Chair Ralph, Commissioner Hunthausen, you're absolutely correct. So each of these districts is managed independently. Each district has its own individual fund number. When an assessment is paid through the property tax bill, that money for that particular special district or that rural improvement district goes into that specific fund. It stays there. It can only be used for those items on the resolution that created that district. Just like you said with the grading and snow plowing, you could not use that money for any other service or maintenance item that is not identified in that resolution specific to that rural improvement district. Those funds are kept in those individual accounts. They roll over from year to year. So when we do our estimating, we estimate, okay, we maybe an average of 5 snow removals per year, and an annual grading for this district, maybe an application of magnesium chloride if that's included. We estimate what that expenditure will be for the year. However, last year we didn't have much snow. So that money that we've budgeted for snow and made sure that was going to be there for snow, that stays in that account. It rolls over. It gains interest. That interest is also kept with that account and that fund. These RIDs are very specific. So when you go through the public hearing process to create a rural improvement district, there's a series of public hearings. There are resolutions specific to those districts, and once they're created, they're not nimble. We can't change them without going through that public process all over again. So if you have that gravel rural improvement district, and some people are like, well, man, it sure would be nice if we could get this road paved. Why can't we use this money that we have here towards pavement? You can get it paved, but you would have to go through a whole new process to create a new RID, give all of those benefiting property owners the opportunity to protest and comment or object. It has to be very clear from the outset what that money is going to be used for. And that's the reason for that.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple more questions if I could.
Go right ahead.
So in addition to that, if someone, I'll say me again in my heart, if I thought, well, I don't think, I don't remember if they did it this year, or didn't do it this year, or the level of service I'm concerned about, or I'm concerned about the quality of the service. How do we handle that? And what I would contact you, correct? And we have a process for that. We're watching out for that the best we can, but speak to that, please.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Chair Ralph, Commissioner Hunthausen, thank you. So we have a staff of folks that work on this program in the Public Works Department, and myself, I oversee this program. We also have Conrad Bentley, who is our RID construction coordinator, and 100% capacity. We have Brent McCula, who works in a half-time capacity for our rural improvement districts and is shared with the road department for the other 50%. We have administrative support through Jade Wills, our administrative assistant. So we have a staff there that is available not only to answer questions and assist, but also who are going through these RIDs on a regular basis to assess what needs done at the beginning of the season. That work starts often in the fall prior to the next construction season, where we're putting together bid items for our hard surface maintenance, like our crack sealing, our chip sealing, our asphalt work. All of that is combined with all of the RIDs that need that work for the year. It's also combined with our Public Works Road Division, our county roads, so that we can use, we can put all of that into one bid so that we can get the best economy of scale possible for that work. We also set up our annual grading work, our mag chloride applications. Sometimes, we just had this a few weeks ago. We had an RID scheduled for grading, and we got out there with a contractor, and it looked really good. It just didn't see that wear and tear over the winter season. So we pushed that off a year because that particular district was in really good shape, so we can move on to the next one, right? That maintenance work is done through private contractors. We solicit for a pool of contractors for grading and pothole patching and concrete work and drainage work so that we can stay competitive with pricing, but also, with this many districts, we need a pool of contractors to be working in these areas. We can't rely on just one. If there are issues with maintenance, though, that's where the staff is here to help. So the folks that live on these roads know those roads best. They're driving them every single day, whereas we can get staff out there maybe once a month. So if problems are developing, if potholes are forming, it may be that it's on our list and the maintenance just hasn't come yet. It may be that we're unaware of it. So it's a great opportunity to contact our staff at Public Works and make sure that we're communicating that information.
Thank you. And one more.
Go ahead.
Okay.
And then
Some of the accounts, to look at them, look like they have a lot of money in them. And it's like, well, why do we need to keep assessing? But for example, a hard surface RID, you're estimating that 7 to 9 year chip seal rotation. And so we're saving for that over time. And the assessment has that included in it, right? The estimate. So just to explain that some accounts might look like they have a lot of money in them and why do we need to continue this assessment? But often we're saving for a big project or anticipated work.
Absolutely. Chair Ralph, Commissioner Hanhausen, thanks. Yes, specifically with our hard surface rural improvement districts, we not only have our annual maintenance items like our plowing or pothole patching, those things that happen regularly. We also have that 7 to 9 year chip seal cycle maintenance. And that chip seal is what maintains generally that base layer of your road. That's an important wear layer. It also gives you a friction layer when it's snowy out. That only happens every 7 to 9 years, but it's one of the most expensive maintenance items that we have. So we do account for that in our budgeting process. We look at our annual items, and we also look at what we need to put aside each year to make sure that when that chip seal cycle comes up, the money is available to make sure that we can continue to perform that maintenance on time so that we can continue to extend the life of those roads as long as possible. With grading districts, sometimes with our gravel districts, sometimes we do see a cash balance starting to grow there. There was one in particular last year that we were able to decrease that assessment last year. Sometimes we start with a more conservative decrease and we look at how that stretches, and then we might be considering another decrease in the future. We don't want to go so low that we're just yo-yoing back and forth for people each year. We want to make sure that we're addressing that appropriately each year. But certainly it's something that's done on an annual basis to make sure that they're being assessed appropriately.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Payne.
Good morning, Jessica. You know, I'm not nearly as sophisticated as Andy Hunthausen. He's been doing this since before this building was born, I think. Um, so I have some confusion with the table that is that we received as part of this presentation. So I'm looking at the improvement assessment, and one at the top of the page is for the autumn wind RID, and it says NA, which I am assuming means no assessment. Then in the next column, it says maintenance assessment, and that's $154.08. Is that an increase, or is that the same amount as last year?
Chair Ralph, Commissioner Payne. So these maintenance assessments are not changing at all. Every maintenance assessment in this column, in the memo and in the resolution before you, those are all the same. There is no increase or decrease for any of the maintenance assessments. The improvement assessment column is informative. We do not have to hold public hearing each year to assess that debt assessment component. The improvement assessment is what individual RIDs have as a debt assessment. So if you see that, it means that that rural improvement district is still paying off the financing of an initial improvement. Rural improvement districts work have two components, right? We have an initial improvement, which is generally financed or done by a subdivision developer. And then we have the maintenance on that improvement. And that's what the RID is. It's the improvement and then the maintenance on that improvement. So when you see an improvement assessment, it just means that they're still paying back the financing of that initial improvement. The maintenance assessments are what we're here today to really consider. And again, those have no change from the previous year. If we looked at last year's mill levy sheet that's published each year, these numbers would all align with what's being assessed on that sheet.
Thank you. That's
You're welcome.
It's good if we all are aiming at the same, understanding the table in the same way. That's all. The only question I have. Thank you.
Just to kind of clarify, maybe a little further, you've listed out 125 of the district. There's several more districts that are going to be are treated more individually than this 125 districts. Is that the case?
Chair Ralph, so anytime we have a change, that district is going to be considered in an individual public hearing.
Right.
We put these all together because they have no change, and we can consider them all as one.
Right.
When we have an individual change, that usually, especially when we have an increase, and we've had a lot of public hearings over the summer considering those increases, that can generate a lot more discussion, a lot more public comment, and we leave a little bit of additional time for that kind of a public hearing. The same with our decreases. We usually don't have a lot of comment, but we do those in individual resolutions once that assessment value is changing. We have other districts that went through some kind of an alteration process. We had a couple of districts, right, that were kind of considered from the start to finish, where we had boundary alterations or those kinds of things. When a boundary changes in these districts, it has to go through the petition, the public hearing for intention to alter that boundary or effectively recreate that district. When we're adding properties, benefiting properties to a district, those new properties have to have the same opportunity to comment, protest, or object to the inclusion into those districts, just as when those districts were initially created. So we've had several of those districts come before you also this summer, and those obviously would not be included on this type of list.
Okay. All right. And these districts might have anywhere from just a handful of properties involved to some of them have 200 or 300 properties.
Yep, Chair Ralph, that's absolutely correct. I think we have our Helena Valley flood mitigation RID with over 1,500 benefiting properties. We have some districts that have a short road in that have 2 to 4 benefiting properties. The driver here and what sets up those individual benefiting properties per district is the benefit received. So if you live on a road, you're receiving a maintenance service on that road, you're benefiting property of that. But you're not included in any of the other, rural improvement districts throughout the Helena Valley. You're individual.
And if there were to be a change made, if there were enough people if a majority of the people wanted to change their district, what would the process be to do that?
Sure. So thank you, Commissioner Rolfe. I think depending on what the change is, this program is guided by state statute. There's a whole chapter of statute that we follow. Depending on what that change entails, it may be the creation of a new district. It may be the process to increase or decrease. It really just depends. Dissolution would be one thing that's good to talk about, I think. Any district that does not have an improvement assessment or that debt that they're still paying down for an initial improvement, any district that does not have debt can also go through a dissolution process. So just the same as a district is created, you have the majority of people that want a rural improvement district, you go through the series of a resolution of intention to create the district, you would go through the resolution of intention to dissolve the district. At that point, everybody would get legal notice of the intent to dissolve. You would take public comment. When you're creating a district, if greater than 50% of the benefiting properties protest the creation of the district by law cannot move forward. It's the same with dissolution. If greater than 50% of the benefiting properties were opposed to the dissolution of the district could not be dissolved. Otherwise, if we're below those thresholds, it's a decision to be made by the commission.
All right. All right. Any other questions from the commission?
I just thought of,
Oh, yes.
Jessica, I'm looking at the maintenance assessment amount, and Orfino Park RID is $80. Okay, the price of fuel has gone up exponentially over the last 6 months. How can you provide, and I assume this is an estimate of what it will cost in the coming year? Those prices are fluctuating, and I just think this is, how do you do that?
Chair Rolfe, Commissioner Payne, that's a great question. So you're right in that this maintenance assessment before you today is what we project we'll need for the coming year. We do add a little bit of a factor of inflation into our estimating process through our budgeting process. So that gives us a little bit of cushion anticipating a base rate of inflation. That being said, we are not able to necessarily anticipate huge fluctuations in the market. A good example of this, I think, is in 2021 when we were putting together our chip seal bids for the year. We saw about 154% increase in our chip seal cost in our 2022 construction season compared to our 2021 season. In that case, we had to turn down all but the most critical projects and push it to the next year. So we can't anticipate a huge jump like that. However, we do anticipate a rate of inflation adjustment over the course of the year as we look at these budget cycles.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? When I would open it up to public comment, if you are interested in talking about this particular, and what I'd ask that you do is when you come forward, make sure the little green light is on there by the microphone, and give us your name, and then just so that we know what we're talking about, soon if you'll mention which district that you're talking about. Okay? Come on forward.
Good morning. It's finally nice to meet you, Commissioner Payne. I've known these two guys for a long time. I've known Andy since this was being built as the old post office. So, okay, I'm not, first of all, Robert Rule.
Okay.
I live on Dudley Street in Eastgate Village.
And it would be Eastgate Village subdivision we're talking about here? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I grew up here in Helena. We've lived out there for the last 30 plus years with my family. I've raised my family out there. Okay, I'm not here today to talk about the snowplow that I swear waits right around the corner until I get done cleaning my driveway off. Then he comes through. I'm not here to talk about that today. What I'm here to talk about is some of the poor conditions of Eastgate Village. Things like, and I can send these pictures to you guys, but I took a picture here of the corner of the sidewalk. This corner is done straight, and it keeps people drive over the edge of it because it sticks out so far and breaks it off, and they just come back and repair the bad design again instead of replacing the design. The other thing that we run into, which eats up a lot of, is grass and weeds growing out of the corner of the sidewalk and the street, deteriorating everything. See, it deteriorates and breaks apart the sidewalks. The other thing I took a picture of here right out on Eastgate, out in Lake Helena Drive, right by the school, at the corner of the street, right in the stormwater grate, there's a tree growing up out of it. Does anybody not ever drive out there and look at things that are going on out there? You know, we've got streets out there that are probably better off being dirt roads, like Boundary. Has any of you guys ever driven out Boundary? It'd be a lot smoother as a dirt road. And I'm watching, we live in Eastgate 1. Our roads are still pretty good. Eastgate 2, the entire subdivision is horrible. Eastgate 1 has been really good. On one of our streets, on Buckboard at the north end, they recently replaced a portion of it of about 8 foot wide by 14 foot long. And everybody drives around it because it's about 2 inches higher than the rest of the road. When we do this work out there, is there any inspectors out there to look at to see what's been done? Or do we just write the paycheck to the companies?
If I might just kind of interrupt, the decision here is whether the staff is recommending keeping the assessment the same as it is now, not raise it, not lower it.
Right.
You're concerned about the quality of the work that's being being done, and the way to address that would be through working with the staff to try to make sure that that's done. Could you maybe direct your comments more towards whether you want the assessment higher or lower?
Okay, now what did you say that again?
The decision today is whether the staff is recommending that the assessment stay the same as it has been. And are you recommending that the assessment be raised or lowered? Or you're looking at the quality of the work, which is not addressed by the action today?
What I'm addressing more than anything is the quality of the work is going to reflect on increasing of money in the future. If we don't maintain the proper controls now of the money being spent. That's what I'm addressing.
Yeah, and what I would recommend is to get people to send a note to the county staff that they too agree with you and that there should be a change in the way it's done. If we're not, the decision today, like I say, is should we leave the assessment the same or raise it or lower it? And the only thing we're going to decide today is, do we or do we not keep the assessment the same?
Okay, so you don't think it'd be more effective with it coming down from you guys to
We're
the
going to rely on the staff to help you make sure that the work is done. And if the work that a majority of the people in your district want is more expensive, then we'll have to address how much more that would be done. It would be handled in a different time. If you think that it could be done more efficiently and less costly, then that would also be addressed in a separate action. But I think the best way to handle it would be to if you have a number of people in your district that are concerned, have the same concerns you do, that you either encourage them to write notes about the condition, or that that you could try to get a majority of the people in your district to say, yes, we need to have something differently done. As far as we want to be responsive to what the people in the district want.
But who does the oversight on this? Because I know for a fact that a lot of complaints have gone in because of the roads. You can't drive down the roads without just bouncing all over.
Okay.
And what I'm saying here is, yes, I don't think this needs to go higher or lower. I think it just needs to be more effective work.
Okay.
And that's why I'm here today.
Okay.
Is
Well,
to
the
bring that to
decision today
attention.
is whether or not we keep it the same, but there could very well be a different forum where people who are concerned about the quality of the work get together and say, we want something different done. And then staff can come back to you and say, okay, if we want to do it, do this and this and this and this, here's what the cost is, what we estimate the cost is going to be.
Yeah. It's just like that tree here. It won't take very much work to go out and pull that tree up, lift that grate out and pull that tree out. But if it's left there for another year, it could very easily cost the taxpayers thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And that's what I'm trying to bring to attention.
You bet.
The same things with those weeds. What's wrong with getting the county weed control out there and spraying the edge to kill all the grass before it destroys the sidewalks and the streets?
Yeah, and then every time we bring somebody out, there's extra costs, and if it can be done, if it can be done within the parameters of the work that's been established in the RID, that's not a problem. But if it's outside of those parameters, then we may have to address it cost-wise. So the best way to handle that concern is in a separate discussion about your specific rural improvement district and how to make it more to the liking of the majority of the people in your district. Does that make sense?
I see where you're coming from on that, but I was just thinking bringing it to the top and letting it come down.
Yeah.
Might be a little more effective. You guys might be able to get something done with where we're not getting anything done. Our complaints directly to the different areas are not going anywhere.
Okay. And you're doing that again. Like I say, the decision today is about the amount of money. We want to be responsive and make sure it's done to what the majority of the people want. Now, if say it takes an extra $50 a year per unit per property to do the work that you'd like to have done, then we'll come back and see whether the majority of the people agree with that or not. But
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Name first and district.
My name is Daniel Staples. I live in Pine Hills subdivision, 3550 Pine Hills Drive. And it wasn't clear to me what this meeting was all about, and so that's why I came today. I have some concerns. Like the previous gentleman, we have some frustrations, but I wanted to see if maybe we couldn't get some assistance from the commissioners or whatever. I'm an engineer. I have a degree in engineering, and I've worked most of my life in construction. And we live out here on Pine Hills Drive, and we love Montana. We love Helena, and we are happy to have an RID. I'm glad that we have it. Our HOA has discussed several times dissolving the RID, and I am absolutely in favor of the RID, and I don't have a problem with the cost as it is today. But there are three concerns, and I think perhaps the commissioners can help with some of them. We're assessed, I believe, this gal behind me can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're assessed $275 per property, okay? The problem is the properties in this subdivision, there's several properties, I don't know exactly how many, but I'm guessing 4 or 5 maybe, that have 2 houses on the property. And so they're assessed one RID fee of $275, but there's 2 houses on the property, and the houses are not each assessed, it's just the property is assessed. And I think that's a problem. If somebody has a house and they're paying taxes, then they should be paying the RID fee because they're benefiting from the RID. But that's not happening. We've got several properties out there where they bought a property, the HOA said they weren't supposed to build 2 houses. Nobody's enforcing some of those HOA rules, fine, I'm not here to discuss that. But the parents, in some cases, or friends or family or whatever, said, hey, just their kids can go build a house over here, or their friends can go build a house over here. They're not paying the $275. And it caused a problem because there's now a deficiency in the money because it's not being assessed. That's one concern that I have. And I'm not sure how it gets addressed, but it's a concern. The other concern that I've got is the cost of the maintenance. To my knowledge, we've had one single time that the county came out and maintained our road in the last year and a half since I've lived there. They billed us $14,300 for that. And I'm an engineer. I worked in construction my whole life. I don't know how in heaven's name somebody got a bill for $14,300. I've never seen a road grader that charges $1,000 an hour to run a road grader. So I think the fee was exorbitant. People complained about it. What was really sad is a big portion of the road from their mailboxes, which is, I don't know, 600 feet of road, didn't even get graded at all. It just, he left the potholes there. So that brings me to the third question that I want to address. Right now, the homeowners are doing their own maintenance. We're paying a fee, which I agree with and I think needs to be done. We've talked to the HOA, and if we dissolve the RID, which I don't want to do, if we dissolve it, then I have no way of collecting money from the homeowners. And that's the big problem, is that we could turn around and say, look, you guys, everybody chip in $300 a year and we'll take care of the road ourselves. And you know how that game goes. Half the homeowners say, yeah, I'll pay, and the other half of the homeowners say, screw you, and they don't do anything, and then I have no way to collect. Mm-hmm. You guys have a way to collect, which is taxing. RID, the fee's fair. I think the fee's fair, and I'm happy to do it, although I think every house should be taxed, not just some of the houses. And but last month, the road had a ton of potholes. The county doesn't come out and check our potholes, and it beating our cars to pieces. And so the neighbor down the street that does concrete took out a skid steer, and he spent probably 6 hours fixing the road with his own skid steer, and he doesn't get paid for it. On the other side of the road, another man had a skid steer. He goes out there and he fixes the potholes with his own equipment. So my question would be this. I apologize, I don't know this lady's name here, but she said that they have lots of contractors. So if our HOA gets together and we say, okay, we're going to maintain our road, can we then, with an HOA, say that, for instance, me, I got a tractor and I go do some road maintenance, and I run the tractor 4 hours, and I tell the HOA I'm going to charge $75 an hour to run my tractor. Then the HOA president signs a thing, and we can give the bill to the county and say, reimburse me $75 an hour to fix the potholes or whatever. Can we somehow, participate more in maintaining our own road and then be reimbursed at least for some of our expenses if our HOA agrees to it? Now, she's already said that she has several contractors, but these contractors charge us $14,000 for 2 days worth of work. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. I worked construction my whole life. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
A question for you. Have you talked with Jessica and gone over the budget for your district?
I don't know who Jessica is until
The lady
today.
who just spoke.
Right.
Yeah.
And so today I know Jessica's name, and she seems like a nice person.
She's very efficient. She understands these districts very well. And if you have questions, I would recommend that you talk with her directly.
I know that we have called the county several times. Several people in our HOA, in our RID, have called the county. I know that when they graded last year and then they gave us a bill for $14,000, we were just kind of flabbergasted by that. And somebody called, and then they sent another truck out there to pick up dirt clods on the side of the road, which I kind of thought was ridiculous. Spent another 6 hours picking up dirt clods. But, the guy that did the grading, I mean, it's like, sorry, basic road maintenance, you put a crown in the road, and he's putting reverse crowns in the road. And so when it rains, the water runs right down the middle of the road because he's created a canal. It's like, what idiot does that? That's just stupid. So I'm saying they're not even doing a good job. And we've called the county, and I don't know who to call. I don't know how to get the buck to stop. So, and I don't have Jessica's phone number, but I mean, who do I call? And can some of these things be addressed? For instance, some of the properties aren't paying taxes. We're paying too much for the maintenance, which is a problem. The homeowners are doing their own maintenance because the county's come out, since I've been there one time.
So do I understand you right, that you basically think the cost is all right, but the quality of the work isn't what you want?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, there's two things. Quality is obviously part of this conversation. The other part is, and I don't know how to fix this, why is the tax assessment not going per house as opposed per property? Because some of the houses are paying nothing for the assessment because they've got two houses on one property. And I don't know how to address that.
And that's something that we're going to make sure that everybody leaves here with Jessica's phone number so that you can talk to her directly about the quality of the work. Your district was set up in 1990.
Yes.
So probably with that anticipation of two homes on there.
I think we have 35 homes on there today.
And I don't know whether there's a legal way to do that. That'll have to go through legal discussion, but Jessica should be able to give you an answer on how to do that.
I got nothing against these people. I mean, they're nice people, and I got nothing against people, but I think every house should pay their fair share.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right. That's right. But it
May have to do
may
with
not
state law.
anticipate. It wasn't anticipated back then, and so it probably wasn't included. So it might require redoing your district to do what you wanted to do. I don't know the answer to that, but we'll have to check with legal on that thing.
Another
But
big concern
the
is,
question we have to discuss today is the assessment agreeable? The quality of the work, we will work with you, with the staff.
and the fees, but I mean, charging us 2 days' work for $14,000, that's, in my opinion, very excessive.
Well, and she can show you exactly how the money's being used. Okay?
Well, I mean,
If you will work with Jessica,
all right.
she has a complete list of how each dime that's gone into your district is being used. Okay? And so the first thing to do is to work with the staff to make sure that you understand that.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name's Rod Bullis, Bullis. I left my notification card, so I don't know the number if it could be sent back up. It's the RID district on the south side of Lincoln, whatever number that is. Can someone help me?
Randy's going to put the map.
On the south side of Lincoln Road.
The south side of Lincoln, the south side of Montana 200.
Okay.
You know, but anyway, I apologize for not having that. But once we find that number, which you requested that we address to, is I have a couple of items. Is one, I would like for when the commission is in Lincoln to come and view Meadow Street. Now it's 3 blocks south of Leaper's Motel, Meadow Street. And if I remember correctly in my notification, it identifies in this RID, there are 2 streets in it that are to receive dust abatement. Everything else is chip sealed. I think I have that right. And I'm trying to find where I'm at here. But anyway, I'm going to not take a great deal of your time, but there's been a major change to Meadow Street, and Meadow Street Road, the first 660 feet of it is county road. Okay? Now, since this existing RID was put in place, there are now 11 homes on this road, and there's 4 new ones. Now, I've had the property for over 20 years, and the predecessor had it since 74. Meadow Street has turned into a major access for homes that wasn't there. Just the number of homes were not there. So I think it needs to look at. So Meadow Street is one of the 2 that is scheduled into this existing RID, and correct me if I'm not correct, is scheduled for dust abatement. Now the other one, which is north from the Catholic Church, I just drove it a couple days ago, is gravelled and crowned. Meadow Street is 95% dirt. And when dust abatement was put on it last time, and thankfully there was dust abatement, it just puddles on the dirt. There's no gravel. And the amount of use of Meadow Street is just too much for the amount of, I have a place on it. I get everybody's dust that goes by my place. And so what I'm saying is, however, in this original resolution, where Meadow Street is identified for dust abatement, I don't know the process, but I would think that I would recommend that be reevaluated wherever and however that's done.
Yeah, but we're not talking about.
I know that.
We're not talking about the price of the district. We're talking about the quality of the work, right?
Well, I didn't say anything about the quality of the work. I just brought up that I think when you guys come up to Lincoln, I'm asking you to view Meadow Street. It's a big change. Okay, secondly, the original resolution where it has dust abatement, I think it's very reasonable to look at that to where the future of that could be a chip seal. I think that's a reasonable request. So in closing, I'm learning this process and who to deal with and what to deal with. But on these maintenance issues, I think I heard it correctly, where you recommended that the citizens contact the Public Works Department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to criticize the road maintenance. I worked in it for a long time, and operators change, circumstances. I know that. But what I am saying on Meadow Street in this original resolution, where it specifies dust abatement, there's no gravel on that road. And it's mud when they put dust abatement on it. Because all it is dirt receiving the dust abatement. So I'm recommending the road get gravelled and crowned prior to dust abatement. It's only 660 feet long. So Rod Bullis in Meadow Street in Lincoln, Montana, And that's, I support the RID. I have historically. I'm just saying that it's time to reevaluate this one street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Al Flink.
Pardon me?
My name is Al Flink, F-L-I-N-C-K. I live at 7127 Raven Road and have for the last 22 years. I was part of the small group of people that put the RID together in the first place. And I am here to tell you that I just understood how RIDs work because of your thoughtful and careful questioning of Ms. Makus, and because of the responses that you made to the previous people who've been standing here. I've been listening, and I have two things to say. One is, from that, I deduce that we do have a problem, and the problem is communication. And if there isn't anything you can do outside of this meeting relative to fixing the communication so that we can all be working with the same deck of cards, who do I go to?
It's the Raven Road, Black Mountain Route
Yeah.
RID. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you. The reason that I got here in the first place is because of a lack of maintenance issue. In the prior year, we received no annual maintenance, none. 2 years of deterioration on a steep road that does not, because improvements have not been made, a different problem, does not have drainage. And the drainage runs down the middle of the road and across the road. 2 years of that, and we were miserable until last week. And because of my years of experience there and seeing what I've seen come and go, I can tell you that what was done won't really last an entire year. It won't get through the rest of the fall rains, the snow runoff, and we will be doing what we've always done, which is basically, to put it rather directly, putting good money after bad. That's partly our problem for not knowing what to do. I'm going to leave now and let you know that I heard it and my efforts, and I would. So I don't know anything about anybody else's RID, but I know that we have to work on forming community and a method for assisting you in getting the communications done so that everybody in the RID knows what's going on. That's impossible at this moment on Raven Road. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name, please.
I'm Ken Liston. I'm a resident of Lucky Strike Road since 1991. And we had our RID placed last year with the assistance of Ms. Marcus.
Wait,
And
which road again?
Lucky Strike Road, it's out in the valley north and west of Lake Helena, east of Glass Drive. It's a very short RID. We've only got 9 residents. And thus far, we've been very safe.
Would you repeat your name, please?
Liston, Liston, Kenneth F. How you doing, Andy? Anyway, we had our RID put in last year. Thus far, I'm very satisfied with it. I don't think that we need to change anything. I will be sending you a letter enumerating a couple of issues that I want to have addressed, but as far as the ups and downs of the assessment, none. And I want you to know that I'm very pleased with the RID coordinator and the coordination that we've had, as opposed to some other people that have been up here before. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Tom Siske, Ciske, and I live at 8659 York Road in the York Maintenance, York Road RID. 8659 York Road, I've lived there for 46 years. I lived there when the York Bridge was a one-lane wood plank road, a bridge, and I lived there when the figure eight loop was still going. So I've been there a while. I have no problem with the road improvement district. I have no problem paying my fair share. The resolution that created this district states, whereas the York Road beyond the town of York is functionally classified as a local road. It's anything but anymore. I think some of you know that there's been 2 hiking trails are up there. There's a new bicycle trail that starts in Bear Trap Canyon, comes down through Trout Creek or other way around, and also the Hanging Valley Trail. There's 14 spaces at the campground. There's a lot of dust. There's a lot of speeding going on. There's a lot of wear and tear on the road. I can live with that. What I can't live with is, if you go down further in the agreement, it says, this district is established for the purpose of equitably funding road maintenance for York Road from the York Bar east to the end of the hard surface. Okay. That does not include the gravel road. I'm fine with no more maintenance being on that dust road because there's nothing I like better than listening to a $150,000 camp trailer pounding down that road. Brings joy to my heart. So what I'm asking for is that this is on State Highway 280 is what it says. And I know that the county has assumed maintenance responsibility for that road. So what I'm thinking is there's 58 geocodes. And from what I can see with, people paying double, individuals paying double geocodes, there's about 40 people paying for this stretch of road that's about 7.5 miles, maybe 8 miles, something like that. What I'd like to see is maybe a rearrangement of the contract with the state to get them to start doing some maintenance, because I think we're paying enough. And I know Jessica, I missed the last couple of York meetings, so maybe Jessica has addressed this issue at York, and I appreciate her coming up there. But I'd like to see the state maybe get involved with some money. And I'd like to see the Forest Service, if possible, contribute to maintenance. And I know the Montana Bicycle Guild is involved with the trail maintenance of the bicycle trails, if they could get involved, because we're paying a lot of money for a lot of people who don't live there on maintenance on this road. The wear and tear is going to get to the point where we're going to have to increase that assessment. It's not going to be able to stay at $250 to cover all the maintenance on the paved road. But now again, you have to look at the maintenance of the gravel road. So what I'm asking the commission is to check the possibilities of involving the Forest Service, the Montana Bicycle Guild, and the state. I see that in the agenda today that you have an agreement, a contract agreement going with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation for Jimtown Road. If they can be part in that road, I can't see why the Forest Service or the state or somebody else can't be involved in helping the equitable funding of this road. There's 14 geocodes on the gravel. And of those 14, there's 10 people that live on that road. About half of them or more don't even live there more than 3 months out of the year. So we're paying a lot of money for maintenance for a lot of traffic that's not local. So I thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Jeff Luft, Luft. I'm a member of the Raven Road Association. I'm here today to ask that you reconsider raising the RID fees for Raven Road. There is an extensive amount of work that needs to be done on Raven Road. The current amount of money that we take in will not ever cover or even repair the damage that's on the road today. And I think it needs to be reconsidered. I do not agree with the county's assessment that no further assessment should be raised. That's what I got.
And what would you consider, what extra work that you'd like to see done?
Well, we need culverts to be put into our road. We need material brought into our road. Our road needs to be crowned. Our road needs to be ditched. We do not have money to mag our road, so all our fines basically blow away, when people drive too fast or it's a windy day. The work that was done by the cable company up on the top part of our road, where they ditched right down the center and they never have repaired it. We have contacted the county and the cable company, where we have a massive row of boulders down the center of the road. It can't be plowed. Material has got to be put on top of that road. So basically, we need a lot of work on the road, and the $300 RID that we pay right now is never going to cover it. We're never going to get anything done. We just paid $16,000 to have the road graded, and when it starts to rain, it's going to be gone. There's already potholes on the road already. We need extensive amount of work on that road. There's 66 properties on that road. There's 48 properties that basically are residents, and the rest are unincorporated. We pay $300 for the residents. We pay $200 for the unincorporated properties. And for a 4-mile stretch of road, it's just not enough money. We need help. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Lyle Lallam. I reside and own property, 10 acres on 4905 Arrowhead Road in the valley, adjacent to the D2 ditch and also the new box culvert that the county installed on Arrowhead Road.
Your last name again, sir?
Lallam, Lallum. I am here to request that my property be removed from the flood assessment area. It's my understanding that area involves ground that is below the design flow or 100-year flow elevation. I don't think I should have ever been in there, but I talked to Paul Spangler about this, and he said he didn't have an elevation for the 100-year flow, and that if I wanted one, I'd have to hire an engineering firm myself. Now, the county has done this for me. Well, the county has done this with the design and installation of the Arrowhead Road box structure. According to Dan, the county engineer, and he can verify this, that the design flow, which is a 100-year flow, a water surface is 1 to 2 feet below the upper bottom of the bridge slab across the ditch, and that water level is clearly below the level of my property. Also, along I own my 10 acres. I own the property to the center of the D2 ditch, and there's an embankment from way back when the ditch was constructed that's about 8 foot high, and it's only got an opening for Arrowhead Road to pass through it. Now, the elevation of Arrowhead Road going through there would be, or the road surface would be probably at least 3 to 4 feet above the design water surface at the box structure. And the county should be able to verify that. When I asked Paul Spangler what that elevation was there, he told me the county didn't have elevations. Be my responsibility to hire an engineering firm, but now the county has done this. So a review of that should clearly show that my property is above the 100-year design flow elevation, and therefore should be removed from the flood zone area. And
So you're asked to be removed from the flood level area?
It'll be removed from the area that's got this flood assessment assigned to it, which from my understanding is that those properties that are estimated to be below the 100-year design elevation.
Okay. We can check into that.
Pardon?
We can check into that for you. I don't know the answer for it.
Yes, you should be able to check that very, very easily now. And the D2 ditch itself in that area, calculation should show that it'll handle that 100-year flow with 1 to 2 foot of freeboard. So that's another reason that properties along there should be removed from that assessment area.
Okay. All right.
That's all I had, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Glenn Arland. I live in the Prickly Pear District.
Give me your name again.
Glenn Arlant, Arlint.
Okay.
And I'm in the Prickly Pear District.
Okay.
And first off, I want to thank Jessica. She's been doing a great job with trying to get everything taken care of. I mean, last year when I was at the meeting, she was the only person in the office, and she still managed to be able to pull it off. So thanks again, Jessica. I appreciate it. What I'm looking at is last year we talked about the roads in Prickly Pear and not having the proper materials for road to be able to grade them and repair them and keep, I guess, maintain them properly. And I was wondering if that was considered into the budget on here. We're talking about leaving the budget the same right now. And will that take care of repairing these roads? Because right now the roads get plowed, and then as soon as the first rain comes in, it's just like nobody's done anything to it. So right now they're pretty rough roads out there. Pretty much gutter trails around all the potholes and the washboards. But I was just wondering if that was included in the budget.
And we'll have to ask Jessica what the limits are there, and we'll make sure that she connects with you directly.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Are there other folks that want to make comment? Did you have something more? I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Jessica, do you have any comments? I want to make sure that everybody has your office phone number. And pardon me? Yeah. Yeah. And a great suggestion. Commissioner Payne just said we have a new website too. When you do have problems with a particular road, on a part of our website, there's a place where you can make comment about that on the website. But anything that you'd like to add at this point, Jessica, other than make sure that they all have your phone number?
Is this job security for Jessica?
Thanks. Thank you, Chair Ralph, and thanks to everybody that gave public comment. It's an important part of the process. My direct line is 406-447-8029. This is also on our website under our special districts program that's located in the Public Works division of the website. And quickly, I will just share on the website, since we have the internet pulled up here, our Report It tool, which is a great way for those that don't like to call. Some people don't like to call, some people love to call. But for those that want to interact just purely on the website, we do have a Report It tool where folks can get in there and report non-emergency problems. So it's a nice tool because it has a map. So let's say you have a pothole right outside your driveway. You can drop a pin right there. You can add your contact information through email or phone number, and somebody can follow up with you. It's possible your neighbors already reported it, so you could see that. You can also see how that complaint will be resolved as it moves through the when we receive it, when it's been assigned to somebody, and then what happens with the resolution of that. And that information's on our website. So I'll just pull that up just so people can see where that is, just for the record.
Hey, Jessica, we're not in a hurry. This is really important stuff.
Okay, so right here, right where my cursor is, right there, Report It. If you click that, that takes you right into that web-based tool. So that's a great way to communicate with Rural Improvement District staff, but also our County Public Works Division as well. So for our county maintained roads also. This is checked daily. And again, it opens up a mapping tool. I do want to just make it very clear, this is for non-emergencies. So if you have something like a stop sign that's down, that is an emergency. That's something that you're going to call our dispatch and make sure that we're on right away. So that's something that is not appropriate for this tool. Again, this is just non-emergency. And there is a big disclaimer that pops up when you click that, but just so that we're clear. Just a couple of questions that I think may help to clarify a couple of the things that I heard here today. I do want to be clear about the assessment mechanisms that we have in place. I know Mr. Staples in Pine Hills, I think he's not in the audience anymore, but just to be clear about when we have two houses on one property and how that assessment mechanism works. Our assessments are, the assessment methods that we have available to use are set in statute. So we can't assess based on how much somebody's using it. If somebody has 4 cars versus 1 car, or something to that effect. Generally, we're able to assess one assessment per property, and so unfortunately, that does not capture an additional house. That doesn't capture additional traffic. Let's say there's a church or some other kind of a commercial type of operation on that road. It's still just that one assessment. There are ways to assess based on assessable value. So you can create an RID and assess based on that taxable value per property. What is challenging there is that if you have primarily single family residential homes, you're going to be assessed based on that value of the home rather than the number of, your average trips per day. That would be generated from that same type of home. So there's pros and cons, but again, that is determined by statute, and that is not something that the county can change. If those properties were to subdivide within the boundary of the existing district, that's when we could pick up an additional assessment for those individual homes. But if it's still on the same property, there's not much we can do within that existing assessment mechanism. I think that, let's see. I think a big theme I saw with a lot of the districts that were represented here today in public comment is that these districts are older districts that we're talking about here. Eastgate 1 and 2, those are our oldest districts in the county, created in 1978, 1979, respectively. Those roads are nearing the end of their life. Raven Road, Pine Hills, these roads, these districts were created a long time ago. Those improvements are winding down. We're at the point, I know we've met with Raven several times and presented the option for a new district. Again, the way these RIDs work is that there's an improvement, an initial improvement. There's maintenance on the improvement. That's what the RID is. So when that improvement is no longer maintainable, when you need brand new culverts, when you need the whole road resurfaced, that's the time when we need to consider financing a new improvement through the RID model. Again, the RID is just one option. There's always private options for road maintenance, HOAs, road committees, other options for folks out there. But if people want to continue with the RID model, at that time, that's really when we need to consider a new improvement. And that's a lot to bite off, right? When we consider the cost of a new improvement, paying that down over up to a 15-year loan term, plus maintenance on that improvement still, I understand, in our economy, that can be a challenging number to look at. But really, that's what we're approaching in some of these older districts. The assessment that we're proposing today is to continue to maintain what we have. It is not for new improvements. And I want to be really clear about that. As far as the specific items for each of these districts, I'll be happy to get in touch personally with the folks that spoke today about some of those individual concerns. But I think we'll leave it at that, unless there's anything else I can clarify, commissioners.
And just one thing, I want to make sure that if you've asked for response, if you be sure that you have left your contact information on the sign-up sheet, that'd be very helpful. Or give it directly to Jessica while she's here. Okay? Yeah, Commissioner Payne.
I just wanted to remind you we've had people come in here and their roads are full of potholes and they want them fixed. Then the potholes get fixed and everybody's driving too fast. We need to have speed bumps. So, potholes are not the worst of it. Just being a tightwad like I am, that's enough.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hunthausen.
Jessica, thank you. Thank you for addressing some of these issues. As well, you came up the second time here and appreciated folks for coming out today, and I share that sentiment. We don't know that there might be an issue or a need out there a lot of times unless somebody tells us. So we're obviously, and we've got invited to drive a couple of roads today and check them out, and I will be sure to do that. But I think it is important that that communication piece continues and the education piece continues to happen, because there are some limits to this program. Not only the statutes that we have to follow, but also that originating document or documents that create these RIDs. We have to follow them essentially to a T. And so if there's a change or an improvement that isn't indicated in that document, there is a process for doing that, whether it's creating a new RID, or if there's opportunity for amendment, depending on the situation. Jessica's the one to walk folks through that process. And I think it's important also to look at some of the history. I'm thinking about the comments related to York Road and out to Vigilante Campground. Definitely that has changed in the last 46 years in terms of the amount of public and recreators that are using that road. And I think it may not have been that communicated that well, but I think over the last, since I've been a commissioner anyway, we have secured a couple of FLAP grants, which are Federal Lands Access Grants, that have improved. I think we helped to repave that section of road, re-gravel that section of road, which is on the federal taxpayer, recognizing that it's there's a lot of recreators out there trying to support the folks that are paying into that RID, for example. However, the situation continues to change. So it's worth looking at these things and determining whether road statuses have changed, whether new life of the improvement or status in terms of use on the road has changed. You know, the number of trips per day 30 years ago is probably different than today. So do we need to look at a different format or a different RID? I think we're open to all of that. So I really appreciate the comments. And Jessica is the one to walk people through the process for change or for updating where we are or improving the situation if it can be. So thank you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And thanks to everybody for bringing this to our attention. And then the one about a comment about the Raven RID. That may be the case that the you know, if you want improvements and if the majority of the group wanted improvements, that the rate would have to change or a new RID would have to be established. But in terms of this year right now, I think that what we have proposed here is appropriate and leaving rates the same from my perspective. And then if there are changes that need to be made, those things need to be planned for and then anticipated in the next round of do we change the rates? Do we develop a new RID for a particular neighborhood or area? So that would be the work that would be done over the next year. And when we're back here next year, that's when we'd make those changes and people would see that then on their future assessment bills. So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to appreciate Jessica and appreciate the people that brought things forward today because, again, we don't know that there may be an issue a lot of times unless somebody brings it to our attention, and then we maybe can do something about it, and I hope we can. So thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I really appreciate your clarifying that. And I would really encourage folks to talk with Jessica because she can get right down to the nitty-gritty with you on it, and I think you'll find her very easy to work with. She'll tell you what can be done and what can't be done and be very straightforward with you. Anything else that you'd like to add, Jessica?
No. Thank you.
And I just want to make sure, are there any other public comments from the public about this item? Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve Resolution 2026-89 levying assessments upon benefiting properties within the road improvement districts and rural improvement districts in the Lewis and Clark County, Montana, as presented by Jessica Makus.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2026-89, levying assessments upon benefited property within road, rural improvement districts and rural improvement districts in Lewis and Clark County, as explained by Jessica Makus, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously, and we really encourage you to contact her, work with Jessica. I think you'll find her very easy to work with. We've been at this about an hour and a half. Could we take about a 10-minute break? And then we'll be back. Get up and walk around a little bit. Okay, we're going to go to bid awards, Augusta Gravel Supply.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Dan Karlin, County Engineer. On July 27th of 2026, one bid was received for the Augusta gravel supply purchase needed for the Augusta area. The road division budgeted to stockpile 10,000 tons of 1 1/4 inch minus surfacing aggregate to be stockpiled by June 1st, 2027, within a 10-mile radius of the intersection of Sun Canyon and Bar Creek Roads in Augusta. The material will be loaded, transported, and placed at work sites in Augusta by the road crew. Funding for the material is budgeted in the fiscal year 27 road infrastructure budget using road mill levy funds. Staff recommends awarding the supply contract to the low bidder, Valley Sand and Gravel LLC of Helena, Montana, for the unit price of $7.50 per supplied ton, not to exceed $75,000, and authorize the chair to sign all applicable purchase documents. I can answer questions you might have.
Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions? All right. Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve action item 3B, the bid award for Augusta Gravel Supply as presented by Dan Karlin.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the bid award on the Augusta Gravel Supply to Valley Sand and Gravel LLC, as explained by Dan Karlin, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Move on to professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Steiner Thuesen PLLC.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Again, for the record, Dan Karlin, County Engineer. In February of 2026, the Forestvale Cemetery Expansion Master Plan was delivered to the Forestvale Cemetery Board of Trustees. The present available capacity of the cemetery was determined to be less than 3 years, and expansion is necessary. The Expansion Master Plan outlines several phases that will extend the useful life of the cemetery for up to 100 years. Phase 1A is the first phase necessary to continue operation of the cemetery and will develop approximately 4 acres of land. You can see it on your screen there. Before you today is a contract with Steiner Thuesen to complete the design and bidding assistance of Phase 1A. The scope of work includes general project management, geotechnical services, grading and drainage design, irrigation system design, cost estimates, final plans and specifications, and bidding assistance. The scope of work will be completed by March 30th of 2027, and Steiner Thuesen will be paid time and materials for a total contract amount not to exceed $68,012. Staff recommends approval of the professional services contract with Steiner Thuesen for an amount not to exceed $68,012 and authorize the chair to sign. And I also have with us today Wendell Richards. He's the cemetery manager. If you guys have any questions for him or I.
All right. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Morning, Commissioners. Chairman Ralph. Wendell Richards, Forestvale Cemetery Manager. No, I would just like to add that, yes, this has been being worked on now for a number of years. It is in anticipation of the traditionally developed cemetery running out of grave plots. So this plan here will, like Dan said, last the cemetery for upwards of 100 years. It's always good to have a plan, but right now, yes, we've been working on this and contributing to our CIP and everything else. So, yeah, we're in wholesale agreement with it.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hundenhausen.
Mr. Rich, just for public interest, I'm sure people might be interested, but looking at the picture here, the map, the green is what we're talking about in terms of the first phase, but the overall master plan includes all that would be in, I guess, in the gray there, the part with the lines through it or the roads through it, and that is mostly white, that's existing, right? I just want people to understand that might be looking at this so they understand what we're talking about.
Commissioner, yes, you're correct. So the green part is the phase 1A of that, where all the lines are and the maps are plotted. That's kind of the concept master plan for the expansion to the top of the screen, which would be north at the cemetery. That's the currently developed. That's just kind of white with the names in it. So phase 1A there, if you were to, on the left side of that green, that main road down, phase 1A is a part of phase 1, which would basically do that whole triangle for that. And that, so phase 1A gives us approximately 900 graves. Phase 1 total would give us close to 3,000, which based on projections would be 30 plus years for the cemetery. So it's a long reaching plan, but with the Forestvale being a special revenue district, having a board of trustees there that can, turn over every few years for the seats and that, we thought it was best to have a plan for future board members to reference and things like that.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
I'd just like to thank you for the great work out there. It seems like you're always taking care of things expeditiously, and you're watching out for the taxpayers, trying to keep the price down. And the way you've over the last couple of years cleaned things up after terrible windfall problems, you and your staff are to be congratulated. Thank you,
Chair.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the special or professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Steiner Thuesen as presented by Mr. Karlin.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Steiner Thuesen PLLC as explained by Dan Karlin, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item, agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the United States Bureau of Reclamation.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Dan Karlin, County Engineer. In December of 2025, at the request of the Canyon Ferry Field Office of the Bureau of Reclamation, Public Works staff began discussions on formalizing the limited maintenance each agency performs on Jimtown Road and Riverside Road between Canyon Ferry Road and Canyon Ferry Dam. During some snow events, dam operators arrive to Jimtown Road before county road staff and are able to plow Jimtown Road on their way to the dam facility. Likewise, when county staff is plowing Jimtown Road, we are able to plow the stretch of Riverside Road from the Riverside Road campground to the turnaround. This arrangement has been the practice for many years, but it has never been memorialized in writing. Before you today is an agreement that allows the Bureau to plow Jimtown Road at their discretion when appropriate, and for the county to plow Riverside Road at our discretion when snow removal would assist vehicular travel along Riverside Road. The term of the agreement is for 10 years from the date of the last signature. Staff recommends approving the agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation and authorize the chair to sign the agreement. And I can answer questions you may have. And Brandy, you can.
All right. Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Any public comment on this resolution? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve action item 3D, the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the United States Bureau of Reclamation as presented by Dan Karlin.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Looks like putting into formal words what has been happening, and it makes it clear what the responsibilities are. So I think it's a good idea to have it written down. All right. If there's no further discussion on the motion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the agreement between the Lewis and Clark County and the United States Bureau of Reclamation, as explained by Dan Karlin, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2026-91 to create the Drop Tine Meadows Road Real Improvement District for road maintenance, District number 2026-7.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Rachel Ward with the Community Development and Planning Department. I'm here this morning with Resolution 2026-91 to create the Internal Subdivision Road RID for the proposed Drop Tine Meadow subdivision. This resolution would create a road RID for the maintenance of the internal subdivision road in the subdivision, which is known as Droptine Court. It's a paved local road serving 5 lots. And the map in front of you shows, just to give you a little bit of context, shows the location of the proposed subdivision and the boundaries of the district, which is located north of York Road and approximately a quarter of a mile east of Valley Drive. This is the Droptine Meadow subdivision that you'll hear next. It received preliminary plat approval on October 3rd of 2024, subject to 18 conditions of approval. Condition number 14 of that approval required the creation of an RID for the maintenance, repair, and preservation of Droptine Court. Maintenance activities will include elements such as snow plowing, street side maintenance, culvert cleaning, ditch maintenance, street sweeping, pothole patching, crack sealing, chip sealing, and other elements that are needed to preserve that road. The cost of maintenance is estimated to be $1,625 per year and will be equally assessed $325 per property for those 5 benefiting properties within the district. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about this road RID.
Are there questions from the commission? Are there questions from the commission? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Any public comment on this? All right, I don't see any public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve Resolution 2026-91 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this resolution 2026-91? Any discussion from the commission? This basically is the last item to be completed on your list of things, and we will discuss it a little more in the next item on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, that is correct. So this item, passage of this resolution is required as a condition number 14, will be done prior to our next item, which is the final plat of Droptine Meadows.
All right. If there's no further, Commissioner Payne.
I just want to confirm, when you and I were talking about this, I think you said there were 18 conditions, and with this, they've all been met. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, correct, yes. And I can go over in more detail the conditions in the next item, but this is condition of approval number 14.
Okay.
In order to satisfy that condition, this item is before you as a resolution to address that condition number 14.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I guess we have a motion though.
We do.
We have a motion on it.
Ready to vote, Mr. Chair.
All right. We have a motion and a second. If there's any further discussion on the motion, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-91 to create the Droptine Meadows Road Rural Improvement District for road maintenance, District number 2026-7, as explained by Rachel Ward, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, now on to the final plat application for Droptine Meadows subdivision. Subdivision 2026-006, as explained. Rachel, go ahead.
Okay. Commissioners, for the record, Rachel Ward with Community Development and Planning. So this is a request for a final plat approval of the Droptine Meadows subdivision. To provide a little bit of context, the subject property is a 10-acre parcel. It's located north of York Road and approximately a quarter of a mile east of Valley Drive. The property owners and the applicants are Jim, and Michelle Mitchell. So the preliminary plat of the Droptine Meadows subdivision, which is shown in front of you, it's a 5-lot minor residential subdivision, was granted on October 3rd, 2024, and it was subject to 18 conditions of approval, one of which you've recently addressed through the creation of the road RID. All conditions of approval of this subdivision have been satisfied, as noted in the staff report in front of you. I'm not going to go through all 18 conditions of approval, but I'm just going to highlight a few. So condition number 1 required that the applicant have water, wastewater, and stormwater facilities reviewed and approved by DEQ and the County Public Health Department. A certificate of subdivision approval at COSA was issued for the proposed subdivision, and the stormwater infrastructure has been installed pursuant to those plans. Condition number 3 requires that adequate water source for fire protection for the subdivision be provided. The applicants are going to use the East Valley Fire District fill station number 1, which is located on Lisa Drive. The system was tested in June of this year with the applicant's engineer and fire chief, Willie Wagner. The testing indicates that the system exceeds the flow rate and the pressure requirements to satisfy those subdivision requirements and regulations. Because this system is maintained by the East Valley Fire District, an RID is not required for this existing offsite system. Condition number 4 requires that the internal subdivision road, Droptine Court, be constructed to typical section number 2, which is a paved standard. That has been completed. The road and associated stormwater certifications have been provided by the applicant's engineer, and those plans were of sufficiency were concurred by our county engineer. The road has also already been chip sealed. Road signs, utilities, mailboxes have all been installed as required, and other applicable permits such as the 5-year weed management plan, the MDT approach permit, have been obtained. So these are just some of the more notable conditions of approval, but as I mentioned, all 18 of the conditions of approval have been met at this time. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. As I mentioned, Jim and Michelle Mitchell are both here today.
As we stand here now, we have previously passed a conditional approval subject to all 18 of these items. And now that they've been completed, this will be the final item to make this an official subdivision. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. So that preliminary plat was approved in October of 2024, and that's when we reviewed the subdivision for all the impacts, established conditions of approval. And over the course of the past few years, the Mitchells have been diligently working on meeting those 18 conditions. We're at that final step of, documenting that those conditions have been met and approving this final plat.
All right. And would you folks like to make any comment? Come on forward if you would. Just give us your name for the official record and.
My name's Jim Mitchell. I'd like to thank Rachel so much. She's been so helpful to us. Crystal Ness, been awesome help for us. And Tony Prothero was our engineer. He did a great job. And Bill Reese did the survey and did a good job. And it's a long process, but I think we're getting to the end of it.
Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
All right. All right. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to add, Rachel?
No, not at this time.
All right. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the final plat application for Droptine Meadows subdivision, SUBD 2026-006, as explained by Rachel Ward and supported by James and Michelle Mitchell.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We want to thank the Mitchells for the process, going through the process. Wish you good fortune. I hope you get your lots sold and make a little money and come back and do another one. All right. Any other discussion? All right, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the final plat application for Drop Tine Meadows subdivision 2026-006, as explained by Rachel Ward, please say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. All right, Resolution 2026-90 to rescind Resolution 1986-55.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Crystal Ness, Development Services Supervisor for Lewis and Clark County. This morning before you, you have Resolution 2026-90 to rescind Resolution 1986-55, which set forth a policy relating to the division of land for agricultural purposes. Before you have my staff report, which details the change that was made in statute in 2019, basically setting forth statutory processes for dealing with agricultural covenant parcels. The 2019 change on 76-3-2071C allows for divisions made outside of a platted subdivision by gift, sale, or agreement to buy and sell in which the landowner enters into a covenant for the purposes of this chapter with the governing body that runs with the land and provides that the divided land will be used exclusively for agricultural purposes, subject to the provisions of 76-3-211. The 76-3-211 is the addition that was added in 2019, and 76-3-211 was a new statute that was introduced in the 2019 legislature. Resolution 1986-55 was originally adopted in 1986 by the Commission as a policy relating to the division of land for agricultural purposes, exempt from review under the Montana Subdivision and Platting Act. The original resolution is attached to the staff report as Exhibit A, and it is quite a lengthy resolution as the legislature did not give local governments any direction in dealing with agricultural covenants, either approving those covenants or then revoking those covenants. The wording for the exemption of 76-3-2011C was different back in 1986. It said divisions of land made outside of platted subdivisions by sale or agreement to buy where the parties to the transaction enter in a covenant running with the land, revocable only by mutual consent of the governing body and the property owner, that the divided land will be used exclusively for agricultural purposes. In addition, 76-3-2072B at that time provided that any change in the use of the land exempted under subsection 1C for anything other than agricultural purposes subjects the division to the provisions of this chapter, i.e. the Subdivision and Platting Act or subdivision review. The Board of County Commissioners has seen a number of agricultural covenants that have come before you for revocation. Most of those have then gone through subdivision review because we are only going to revoke the agricultural covenant on the property that was divided off using that agricultural covenant exemption. Resolution 1986-55 laid out both the policies and directions that were necessary to clarify for individuals wishing to utilize the agricultural exemption procedure to both initiate such an exemption as well as setting forth the policy to deal with requests to revoke an agricultural covenant. The policy provided any person proposing to use the agricultural exemption be provided with a copy of the resolution, which was recorded with the clerk and recorder, in conjunction with the filing of the certificate of survey. The very last page of Resolution 1986-55 contains the declaration that was actually recorded with the Agricultural Covenant Survey. Resolution 1986-55 was informative and necessary for the county to address both the creation and revocation of an agricultural covenant, and has stood the test of time until the 2019 legislature enacted 76-3-211. This new addition to the Subdivision and Plating Act addresses all of the topics, issues, and policies that were previously set forth in 1986-55. 76-3-211, the Agricultural Covenant change in use. A change in use for anything other than an agricultural purpose subjects to division of land that received the exemption under 76-3-2071C to subdivision review under parts 5 and 6 of this chapter. However, the governing body, in its discretion, may revoke the covenant provided for in 76-3-2071C for the purposes of this chapter, and the division may proceed without subdivision review if the original lot lines are restored through aggregation of the covenanted land prior to or in conjunction with revoking of the covenant. Or B, a government or public entity seeks to use the land for public purposes as defined in the governing body's review criteria pursuant to 76-3-5041P, or the land is annexed into a municipality. That was added in 2025. If a governing body proposes to revoke a covenant pursuant to subsection 1B, which is the government entity seeks to use the land for public purposes, the governing body shall hold a public hearing. Within 15 days of the hearing, the governing body shall issue written findings of fact and a decision based on the record. If the governing body approves the revoking of the covenant, the approval must be recorded with the clerk and recorder. And then number 3, the revocation of covenant pursuant to this section does not affect sanitary restrictions. The plain language of the statute addresses all of the processes and procedures set forth in Resolution 1986-55 and stands on its own. The resolution required a public hearing before the commission to agree to revoke the agricultural covenant and then required the applicant to go through the subdivision review process. 76-3-211-1 allows the commission to revoke the covenant if A, B, or C apply to that new statute. Those specific instances allow removal of the agricultural covenant without requiring the applicant to go through subdivision review. In conclusion, our resolution 1986-55 was necessary at the time to set forth the county's policies and procedures to revoke an existing agricultural covenant. Those policies and procedures applied to both evoking the agricultural covenant as well as to the removal of the covenant, and in addition set forth the assumptions to be applied by the commission when deciding whether or not to revoke an agricultural covenant. 76-3-211 codified the process to revoke an agricultural covenant and when subdivision review is required without making that a condition of the revocation. Therefore, it is time to rescind 1986-55 and let statute direct the county on the revocation process for agricultural covenants. And I'm here for any questions you may have.
In kind of normal language, are there things that we're walking into here that we don't expect?
Chairman Rolfe, no, there isn't. The statute clearly requires if you divide a piece of property using an agricultural covenant, that agricultural covenant still needs to be required and is recorded on the face of that survey, setting forth that covenant that that land is to specifically be used for an agricultural purpose only. The statute also allows the commission to revoke it under those three circumstances without requiring that property to go through subdivision review. So if we have someone who creates a parcel using an agricultural covenant, and down the road, the person who purchased that agricultural covenant restricted property wants to build a home on it or subdivide it or anything like that, they have to come back to ask you to remove that covenant. And then the process is they will have to go through subdivision review. The agricultural covenant exemption allows the division of land specifically for agricultural purposes. So let's say you have 10 acres and you want to split off 5 for someone to raise alfalfa on that, and you want to put your home over here on this 5 acres. That land is required to remain in agriculture unless it comes back and goes through review and seeks approval from the Board of County Commissioners to revoke that agricultural covenant. And because that lot was created by an exemption, it is now subject to subdivision review, except for in those 3 instances that are laid out by 76.3.211.
Are you aware of properties that this is going to affect?
Chairman Rolfe, we've had a number of properties that were divided using an agricultural covenant that the property wasn't agricultural in nature. At this particular point in time, if someone comes forward and wants to divide property using an agricultural covenant, we make sure we do our due diligence and we make sure that that property is in fact agricultural in nature. And that they understand that if they place this exemption on that survey, there's a covenant revocable only by you folks to remove that agricultural covenant off of that property that's created by an exemption that did not go through subdivision review.
And will this affect any properties out there now when we take this off?
Chairman Rolfe, the statute gives staff and the commission direction to move forward. If someone wants to remove that agricultural covenant from a piece of property that they own, they will have to go through subdivision review. So you have an opportunity when they come forward to remove that agricultural covenant. You say yes or no. We're not going to let you remove that agricultural covenant, or yes, we will allow you to remove that agricultural covenant, but you will go through subdivision review.
Okay. All right. Other questions from the commission? Other questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve Resolution 2026-90 to rescind Resolution 1986-55 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the commission on this item? Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hunthausen.
I'd just like to thank Crystal. That was a very thorough explanation and, beyond some of us. So in a simplified fashion, to me, this is essentially a cleanup. The 1986 resolution is unnecessary, now covered in law. And if we follow the law, we'll take care of those exemptions as has been presented here. So,
Chairman, Commissioner Hunthausen, that's exactly correct.
Thank you.
Okay. I think it probably makes a little more sense to Mr. Hunthausen since he had probably already been here for 20 years when that was established.
Chairman, my understanding is based on how long Commissioner Hunthausen has been here, he has seen a number of these come before him.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the resolution 2026-90 to rescind the resolution 1986-55 as explained by Crystal Ness, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Let's move to number H. Revocation of Agricultural Covenant Survey 2026-53.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Crystal Ness again, Development Services Supervisor. Now we get to put into action what we just discussed on our previous item. So before you this morning, you have the approval of the revocation of an agricultural covenant. Jeff and Tolly Patton purchased both tracts A and B of Certificate of Survey number 3099382. These two lots were originally created by Certificate of Survey number 387475, which you now have up on the screen in front of you. So the individual property owners divided this property utilizing an agricultural covenant. So the agricultural covenant exemption covered this, what is labeled as a remainder, as an agricultural covenant. Yeah. As part of that agricultural covenant, they filed and recorded this declaration of covenant, which says that the declarant is the owner of certain property, and they hereby declare that all of the parcels described above, which contain less than 20 acres, shall be held, sold, and conveyed subject to the following covenant, which shall run with the real property and be binding on all parties. So that property that was divided and created as a separate lot was specifically to be used for an agricultural purpose. This language now, once we've revoked 1986-55, a lot of this language will now be recorded on the face of the survey that creates this agricultural covenant on this property. So they had, Jeff and Tolly purchased both tract A and B of this particular survey. And you can see that this survey actually did a boundary line relocation and expanded that agricultural covenant restriction. So tract B now is 9.92 acres, and the agricultural covenant exemption covers 30 acres. So now before you, you have an action item to remove the agricultural covenant on this particular piece of property. I've attached a copy of the 2-page survey. This survey removes that boundary and aggregates the two parcels back together. So 76.3.211.1A allows for the removal with the approval of the governing body when the original parcels are aggregated back together. So by recording this survey and aggregating these parcels back together, that agricultural restriction is now lifted. And I'm here for any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanout.
Yes. So I'm just trying to think of what the public might be thinking right now in terms of questions. So if I'm sitting in my living room, I might say, so now what can they do with the property? If we approve this, would they have to go through subdivision, for example, if they wanted to subdivide this, or is it exempt? And I think you've explained all that, but just maybe to reiterate some of the things that must happen if they decide to do something else with the property.
Chairman, Commissioner Hunthausen, because the agricultural covenant divided the property utilizing an exemption, once we've aggregated that property back together, it now becomes whole and there's no longer a division. So that agricultural restriction is removed by the aggregating of the lots back together. Right. Of course, with the commission's approval to remove the agricultural covenant. If you'll notice on the first page of the survey, there's a signature block down in the lower left-hand corner where the commission agrees to remove the agricultural covenant from this property. We're not agreeing, we're not signing anything that says this is going to be subdivided, but this property will be basically released from that agricultural restriction to do whatever the current property owners want to do with it, subject, of course, to all of our rules and regulations.
That was the point I was making. Assuming we approve this, then anything they want to do in the future, whatever that might be, they're subject to all the rules and regulations that anyone else would be.
Chairman, Commissioner Hunthausen, that's exactly right, and particularly zoning.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We now have part two zoning in this area. So for instance, the boundary line relocation that made the agricultural covenant larger and made what was developable smaller, that wouldn't be allowed because this is in a place where there are 10-acre minimum lot sizes.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, that was very helpful.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there any public comment on this? Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve revocation of an agricultural covenant survey 2026-053 as explained by Crystal Ness.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the revocation of an agricultural covenant survey number 2026-053 as explained by Crystal Ness. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of this revocation of an agricultural covenant as explained by Crystal Ness, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We've had a rather lengthy meeting today, but we always save time for public comment. And anyone who would like to make a comment on any item that's under the purview of our county commission, but not on today's agenda, we offer the opportunity for them to speak at this point, make a comment. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we're adjourned.